Oh, hi! This week, I can only do a one-handed intro because I got a little stinky bean in my lap. As for the project this week, we're gonna make some couches. Nope, we're gonna make some cushion covers, which I guess then could be used on a couch. So this is a project I did for a friend of mine. By the way, for transparency, if you were watching this, I obviously didn't clock any of the time I was like filming these little B-roll clips as my working time, just for the sake of saying. Thought I would share the process of how I made these because it's something that I feel like a lot of people will decide to do on their own and then feel like they're in over their head, where it's not that bad. There's just some stuff you have to account for that maybe you wouldn't think to account for. So I thought I'd walk you through the steps. Probably gonna be a quick and dirty project. I have a more Christmassy themed thing for next week. I filmed it last year while I was desperately ill, so I don't know how that's gonna go. I haven't edited it together yet, and I have like one more step I want to add in today time, so there'll be a little intro outro by like current me. Anyways, for this project I was given a bunch of fabric, bunch of zippers, and 2 sizes of cushions. We're gonna focus on the smaller one just because it's easier for me to fit in frame, to be honest. What I did was I measured out the size of the cushion. These ones are 22 inches by 22 inches. I need to add 1/2 inch, if we're doing 1/2 inch seam allowance, at each edge because that's gonna get sewed to something. So since this has 4 sides, basically I need to add 1 inch to each of those numbers. So the fabric squares I need to cut out are going to be 23 inches by 23 inches. And you can do this for a rectangle too. It doesn't have to be a square. This just so happened to be an equilateral sized thing. Is equilateral only applicable to triangles? I'm using a lot of big words. I'm gonna reel that back in right goddamn now. Anyways, I measured the height, which I think for these were 3 inches. So the math for this is each side of the cushion is 3 inches tall, 22 inches long, right? We need to account for seam allowance in just one spot lengthwise because this is a small enough cushion. I can get one strip that'll connect at the ends to make one loop. I did have a bigger cushion I had to do in multiple pieces. Basically, adding seam allowance wherever anything's getting attached to something else is the moral of the story with this project. I also had to add seam allowance to the top and bottom of that width. So rather than have it be just the 3 inches, I had to add 1/2 inch above and 1/2 inch below. So the whole strip total was 4 inches. I hope this is all making sense. Just add 1/2 inch to everything and then keep a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It'll be fine. I did the flippy outy zipper thing. I'll put a link to a video that's much less discombobulated up in the corner here to explain this particular process, so it'll make a little bit more sense. Then I used a shitload of pins. I quartered the band piece once I attached the 2 ends together, and then I also found the center points of each of the square panels for the top and bottom just to help line stuff up. Now here's what happened, right? Because 2 of the sides of the square pieces were gonna have a little bit more give because most fabrics, even wovens, even canvas like this, there's gonna be a little bit more stretch across one way of the fabric versus the other. So there were 2 sides that things didn't want to line up as much, so I had to aggressively wrestle the fabric, and it was a really good workout for my arms. Not the worst way to spend my time, but here's what I had to do is take the part that had some slack, have that on the bottom, so that the layer I was basically stretching along was on the top. That's always easier for me at least. And then there was so much slack that just stretching the top wasn't always enough, and I'd have to kind of like mush the underlayer a bit. Not enough so that we're puckers or tucks or anything. I didn't want any folds. So you just kind of like ease it in a bit and try to get as much fabric in there as I could. It ended up coming together okay. It was a little tedious and time consuming, but so is literally everything I ever do. And I mean, that was it as far as assembling these things. I did serge the insides. I did make sure the zipper was open before I put the second square piece on so I could actually flip everything out. When I was pushing the corners out and starting to stuff one of the cushion covers with the cushion, I realized I hated that the seam allowance was like flopping both towards the square panel and the side band, and it was driving me bananas. So I went back and I did some top stitching, though it's a kind of top stitching, under stitching kind of, because it's too far out to be edge stitching. I think under stitching is the word I'm thinking of, where I just wanted to keep the seam allowance to one side. It just looked way neater, and I'm so glad I went back and did it, even though stuffing all 3 of those, realizing I hated how it looked, and unstuffing all of them just to restuff them was a bit of a nightmare. But all in all, way happier with the result. I'm really glad I went back and did the damn thing and kind of add that little professional touch to it. I just did a better job. you know? And with all things, I have much higher standards for other people's shit than my own. So of course I was gonna put that extra step in, where had that been for me, I never would have gone back and unstuffed that cushion. Would have been like, well, that's just what it looks like now. I am sorry this is not a longer video. I know last week's was also a little bit shorter, and I've generally been having longer, more involved videos throughout the year. I'm really happy with a lot of the stuff I've been making this year, and not that I'm not happy with this project. If you want a more in-depth version, I feel like doing the math was the thing that always spooked me. So walking through this whole thing, just knowing where to add and when, and putting everything together, and because they're cut at different spots, like what if one does have a little bit more slack to it? How do I counteract that? Those are things that I was nervous about the first time I did something like this, and that took all the fear out of it for me. So I hope this is helpful if you've been mulling over doing a cushion cover, because making them fitted is kind of frustrating and a struggle, and you need to be real precise with everything. I understand if you are putting off doing that. I have to make fitted sheets for a custom size mattress thing that I'm putting off, and that's going to be much easier than this project because fitted sheets use elastic and there's a ton of wiggle room with that kind of shit. But here I am, terrified anyway. It happens to all of us. You're not alone in that. If you feel like you aren't getting enough sewing nerd bog troll hang time, there was discussion during one of my live streams recently with everyone over on Patreon who, quick aside here for a second, I literally wouldn't be able to be doing any of this without any of these people here. They're making all of this happen and keeping me trucking when I'm not always feeling the most capable of doing things, and also sharing their own projects and wildly encouraging, as everyone here is. They want to open up the Discord to everybody. So to keep it from getting spammed by shitheads, which I keep finding out happens to other people's Discords, it like stresses me out. I'm not gonna have it just open to whoever and have it public, but if you would like to join, message me on Instagram or Twitter, or email me, or send me a message on here or whatever. Find some way to communicate with me and I will send you an invite link. I know some of us already follow each other, so it won't be a huge deal. It's just holycrappitsjo on Instagram and Twitter. You don't have to come follow me over there if you don't want to. This is not to drive my audience to a different platform. You hang out wherever you want to hang out. No pressure. But if you would like to hang out in the Discord, you just need to like get a hold of me so I can send you a like one-time use invite link. I don't want anyone coming in and infiltrating our like happy little nerdy crafty hub. Links to all of that stuff in the description if you want to check it out. Please thank everyone over on Patreon for opening this up. I'm excited to get more conversation happening there and sharing stuff. And there's even a spot where if you want to share your Etsy shop links or whatever shop links, because Etsy is, I get it. I get it if you don't want to use them. But that way we can have like a little bog troll marketplace. And if people are looking for maybe cutting it a little bit too close for Christmas going forward, it'll be a nice little catalog you can go back through. Chris already posted her knitting patterns, but she has beautiful, beautiful thing. I wish I knit. I did ask for some crochet hooks for Christmas because I think I would like crocheting more. Just seems like you can do a little bit more freeform type thing. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on like the various types of crafts. Okay, I have gone on for way too long for what this video is. I hope this was helpful. I'll have a stocking video up for next week, and then I think I'm gonna do like a year roundup, talk about my no-buy year, because it's not particularly exciting giving updates on that throughout the year, being like, still didn't buy anything. And I just want to talk about how that went for me, and maybe some projects I haven't shown, like the one I'm currently wearing, not the cardigan that was thrifted many years ago, but the dress I'm wearing. So if you want to see some more of those, and maybe turn it into like end of year Q&A. If you have any questions, let me know. I will answer them. Cool. I will talk to you next Friday with the stockings video. And yeah, thank you all so much for hanging out. It's gonna be an interesting edit, let me tell you that much.